guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
Tonight, we embark on a thrilling journey through time as we celebrate three legendary actors who brought the iconic character of James Bond to life. Who do you think of when you think of James Bond? Who's the first visage that comes into your mind? Sorry, which first face comes in there? Tonight, we're going to be exploring Timothy Dalton, Daniel Craig, and Pierce Brosnan. Each one of them have left their mark on the 007 legacy, captivating audiences with their unique portrayals of the suave and daring spy. Very sexy spy. This is a very sexy guy. He's a very confident man, I'll tell you that. From heart-pounding action sequences to unforgettable charm and charisma, these talented actors have left an indelible impact on the world of cinema. So join your guys and I, or is it me, as we delve into their remarkable careers and explore what made each of them a memorable and beloved Bond. I would agree that they each brought something new to the table, right, guys? Each one of them had their own thing, their own mystique, their own magic. Yep. And Agent Z, I didn't know that you were here. You know, Manny Zamora usually is here, but this is Agent Z tonight. And then there's the Luck of the Irish. I mean, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, this Agent Bond. Yes. Happy St. Top of the morning to you. Yeah, see, when one is spy, one has to be able to change identities in a heartbeat. So, I can be Irish, I can be whoever I want to be, But today, we are here to talk about that British agent spy that has foiled our plans for so long, the James Bond.
All right. So we started out with Sean Connery as James Bond in 1962. And then we got George Lazenby, the Australian. This never happened to the other fellow. And then, of course, Roger Moore as James Bond in the 70s and the 80s. And now we're going to talk about the later Bonds, what happened after. Roger Moore is the Bond I grew up with. That's the one who, Spy Who Loved Me was the one that made me fall in love with Bond. I watched that 3 times in the movie theater consecutively. I went in on an early afternoon matinee and I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. And this is so cool. And I watched it 3 times before going home for dinner. Because that's like a 2-hour plus movie. So, Timothy Dalton took over because Pierce Brosnan, unfortunately, still was in contract to do Remington Steele. Right. Even though the show was canceled, he was still on contract, and they couldn't get out of it. And when they found out he was going to be Bond, they're like, "Oh, we're going to do 4 special Pierce Brosnan Remington Steeles." And Eon Productions, which runs the Bond franchise, Cubby Broccoli at the time, was like, "Oh, no. So Dalton, who had been offered the part in the late 60s, but he thought he was too young, so he turned it down, got Bond. Again, they wanted Pierce Brosnan because his wife, Cassandra Harris, was in For Your Eyes Only, and they met him during For Your Eyes Only. Barbara Broccoli met him, and Michael G. Wilson. They were in control of Eon Productions at the time and the Bond franchise. They have since, just this past month, given it up, and now it's owned by, are you ready for this, folks? Amazon. Amazon now owns the rights to the James Bond franchise. Now, rumor has it, and this is just a rumor, they may bring back Pierce Brosnan to play an older Bond coming out of retirement. We'll see. We'll see. But we're going to talk about Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig tonight and their movies. And we will talk about all of them, even though they're not our favorites, baby. So, Manny, what is your number one pick for these guys, these three guys who played Bond in the recent years?
Okay. Well, before I do that, I wanted to say that Great Britain has given us 5 legendary characters. And in chronological order, they are King Arthur, Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, and James Bond. And we've talked about 2 of those.
Dracula's Romanian.
3 of them. Huh?
Dracula's Romanian. Come on.
No, but the original author was the man who wrote the Dracula story.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Anyway, and we've talked about those other characters, but now and Bond as well, like Rory said. We've covered the Connery, the Lazenby, and the Roger Moore era. So when we came to this time, and the last 3 of the Eon Bonds, apparently, I kept thinking, well, how am I going to do this? How it's just going to be like just random, or so I decided to do it in reverse chronological order. So I'm going to go from Craig all the way to Dalton.
Okay, so it's not your favorite; it's just you're going in reverse order.
Yeah, but my favorites of those particular actors.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah, and so that's going to be my top 5.
All right.
And then the honorable mentions will be the rest of the films, and one dishonorable mention. So I'm sorry.
I've got a couple.
Oh, okay. So my top Daniel Craig Bond film is Skyfall.
Okay.
Which was the 3rd of the ones with Craig in it. But I feel like this one really captures it's a throwback. It really is a throwback to the Connery era. I think this is when after 2 films, this one, I feel like this is the one where Craig really becomes Bond. He fully embraces the character. The story is awesome. Now there's one thing that I have to say about this group of or Bond after Moore, is they tended to lean on a particular plot device, character device, and that is the broken villain seeking revenge plot. A lot of these revolve around a villain who, for one reason or other, is seeking revenge on somebody. And Skyfall definitely falls into that category. But
yeah,
Javier Bardem plays the main villain in this story.
License to Kill also, yeah.
Exactly. And he has a grievance against personally against M and just the whole agency. And so he's exacting this revenge plot against M1 or M, no, what is it, M5?
MI5?
I'm sorry?
MI5?
MI5, thank you. And so
Universal Exports.
Right. But it's such a and we also get the introduction of Ray Fiennes, who becomes the new M later on.
Mallory.
Although we don't, he introduces Mallory. And it's Judi
The
Dench's
original M from the books, by the way, was Miles Masuri was his name. But they picked different names for the ones in the movies.
Yeah. And it is Judi Dench's final appearance as M.
Yes.
And it's
bloody hell, a lot of character.
Yeah, it's a great send off. We get Albert Finney in a nice little appearance
as Kincaid.
as Kincaid, as the
caretaker
of Skyfall, which we find out is Bond's ancestral home. And there's just a lot of great action set pieces. Bond's very well known for their action scenes, and this one's no exception.
Yes.
And unlike a lot of them, they don't really drag on too long, and they are motivated by the plot instead of just being like, oh, we need an action sequence here, let's throw them in. We get the classic Aston Martin back, and so there's a lot of lovely little moments. We're introduced to a new Q, a younger Q.
And I love when she's passing him in the car and he flips the little thing up with the red button. She goes, "Oh, go ahead, eject me. See if I care."
Exactly.
Nature.
Yeah, and just a lot of great humor. The banter between Bond and M is peak. And so and not to mention a great theme song from Adele. Again, it's right up there with Shirley Bassey or any of the great themes from.
Agreed. A lot of the themes for the later movies just don't quite hit home. But that one does. That one seems like a real Bond opening theme. You're right. I totally agree with you on that.
Exactly. And even though Maurice Binder passed away and wasn't doing obviously couldn't do the opening credits anymore, the credits were still very much good.
Entertaining.
Very, very well done. Entertaining. And just thrilling in and of themselves. So yeah, I feel like this one was a real return to form, especially after Quantum of Solace, which not one of my favorite Craig films.
Quantum of Solace, is a dud. One of the main reasons why is because there was a writer's strike going on at the time. It's got a very weak set of villains in it. I think they were on a budget too, is my feeling, because it feels like a real low budget Bond. So I would say that almost deserves a place on a dishonorable mention list.
Yeah.
It's a very weak Bond. It is.
Yeah.
But I mean, Casino Royale was an awesome Bond. It was a really good setup for Craig as the character, and we'll talk about that a little more a little earlier.
All right. Do you want to go with your number one, or do you just want me to continue?
My number one is The Living Daylights.
Okay.
Dalton took over as Bond. He did his homework. He read the books. He was the most like the Bond in the books as any of the actors. He smokes. He's edgy. Like distant, aloof, edgy with most of the other characters until he finally kind of goes for Cara Malavi in the end. He's Bond from the books. He really is. He even kind of resembles the description of Bond from the books. His hair is not perfect. There's a little comb of hair coming down over his. He was actually losing his hair. His hair was receding at the time. So by the time they get to License to Kill, you could see his hair is starting to recede. This is the same thing that happened to Connery in the beginning. Connery's hair was fine in the first two films, but by Goldfinger, he was having to wear a toupee.
Mm-hmm.
And in Thunderball and You Only Live Twice, the toupee is very obvious. It's not a great toupee, I don't think. In Diamonds Are Forever, they got a little better, but he looks older. He looks like he should be wearing a toupee. Anyway, Living Daylights has a great cast, interesting set of characters. A lot of people said that the story was confusing, but I just totally understood it from beginning to end, I thought. And again, it was an engaging story and a lot of double crosses, and it was an interesting film. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We got John Barry back to do the music. It was one of his best scores it actually was his last one, I think, wasn't it?
I believe
David Arnold took over.
Yeah.
And again, every time there was a new Bond, he would come up with a different way to do the Bond theme, so it was not the same.
Mhm.
With Lazenby, it was kind of an organ. And when he got Roger Moore, he just did a full-blown orchestra with a whole orchestra playing, and we didn't have the with the Vic Flick. That was supposed to be Sean Connery's theme. But when other people took over, like George Martin for Live and Let Die and Marvin Hamlish for Spy Who Loved Me, they brought the guitar back. So you get the guitar Bond riff. But he tried to give a different Bond theme to each Bond that he recorded for, that he composed for. And with the Living Daylights, instead of the guitar, it sounds like it's a piano thing, like an electric piano. Ding, 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 ding. So it sounds like a guitar string, but it sounds like you're hammering on it with a hammer. Ding, 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 ding. So it's interesting. It's an interesting difference. And I just thought I'd point that out. And I really liked the soundtrack for that movie. I bought it and listened to the hell out of it. We get Aha doing the theme song for the beginning of the movie. We also get oh shit. Damn it. We have another song for one of the villains, Necros' theme, which is "Where Is Everybody Gone." Give me a second. I'll look up the singer. It's killing me that this is not coming to me.
Okay.
Getting old. So I'm going to have to use my Living Daylights. I'm going to have to use my phone to get information. The Living Daylights. All cast and crew. Composer. Visual effects. Shit. It's not going to give it to me here. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember who did it, but we got a second song.
Oh, it's by the Pretenders.
The Pretenders. That's it. But the lead singer, I was trying to think of the lead singer's name.
Chrissie Hynde.
Okay. That wasn't who I was thinking of, but okay. But yeah, that's my number one for the new Bonds. I really enjoyed that film, and I felt it brought Bond back to where he needed to go to at the time. So there it is. That's my number one.
Cool. Number two, again, continuing down the Daniel Craig road, is actually the follow-up to Skyfall, which is Spectre. And we get the return of Ernst Stavros Blofeld in the form of Christoph Waltz, rather.
Waltz.
Exactly. Yeah.
When he does interviews.
Very excited. Not as good as Skyfall, but still has a lot of has the requisite action. And introduces, again, like I said, the new Blofeld, which was a welcome return. And I thought Christoph Waltz was very well cast in that.
By this time, they had gotten the rights back to Blofeld. The rights actually fell to, or it was in court for decades. Kevin McClory for Thunderball, because he says that he created Blofeld when he wrote Thunderball together with Ian Fleming.
Ian Fleming, right? Yeah.
This was the reason that we got Never Say Never Again, because it was a rehash of Thunderball and the characters. And then I guess they settled after Never Say Never Again was finished and he'd made his money off of that, or whoever had purchased the rights. I think one of the lawyers purchased the rights from McClory for a sizable amount of money because he figured he could win, and to an extent he did. And then he sold it back to Eon Productions, I guess. In the beginning of For Your Eyes Only, there's a character that's supposed to be Blofeld, but they never say it's Blofeld. He's in a wheelchair with a brace around his neck. He's got a white cat in his lap. He's bald, but we never see his face. And that's supposed to be Blofeld. And wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We know it's Blofeld, but they never say it's
Exactly.
Blofeld.
Never. Exactly.
And he goes down the pipe.
Goes down the pipe. Yeah. No, Mr. Bond. No. Yeah.
I'll buy you a delicatessen in Staples Field. Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been Dr. Evil for all we know.
Yeah. Again, that was a great setup for that character, but the whole thing with the shtick at the end, it's just they just turned it into a comedy bit, and I hated that. I wish that they just
kept it straight.
He was very sinister and menacing, and I liked that. And then all of a sudden, he's Mr. Bond, Mr. Bond.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole stunt with the helicopter was great, flying into warehouses and all this stuff. Yeah. But anyway,
they turned it into a shtick.
Turned it into a cartoon, I know. But anyway, Spectre. Fantastic opening scene, though, during Dia de los Muertos in Mexico City. And there's that great scene where he walks out of this hotel where he's been with this woman, of course, and he's, getting his clothes ready, and he's gonna shoot somebody, and the thing explodes. It's just and another great helicopter stunt. So anyway, I think it continues on. It doesn't. Oh,
as Madeline Swan, who is Bond's new love interest. He's been married to Tracy. Vesper was truly supposed to be the love of his life, Vesper Lynn. He loses both girls. And they bring in a new Bond love interest, and she's supposed to be a real love interest, not just somebody Bond's sleeping with to get information, that kind of thing. Leah Seydoux. And you can see why Bond, decided to give up the business to be with her.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like they could have stopped with this one. I mean, had a pretty much an ending.
In my mind, they did. But we'll talk about that more later.
We'll talk about that one in a bit. Yeah. And an all too brief extended cameo from the lovely Monica Bellucci, who I just she's just too hot to handle. But who people might remember as Persephone in the Matrix sequels as well. But anyway, just a exciting action movie. Continued on from Spectre. I'm sorry, from Skyfall. Also, we get Batista playing almost a kind of a spiritual successor to Jaws. It's just this big, hulking, menacing guy that Bond has to fight.
Again, in the Bond films, you're supposed to have a main villain, and then you're supposed to have a henchman who is seemingly indestructible, which is David Batista was doing as Mr. Hinks in that one. And again, Odd Job, you're looking at all kinds of villains. Hans in You Only Live Twice, it's just, there's just somebody like that in almost every Bond film.
Right, yeah. And so he fulfilled that role very, very well.
He's very impressive in that.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, number 2.
My number 2 was Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan. It's the best of the Pierce Brosnan Bonds. With not any of the others coming even close, I don't think. Well, GoldenEye was okay, but really, Pierce Brosnan finally gets a good script, basically with good characters, and he finally gets to cut his teeth properly as James Bond in Tomorrow Never Dies. We talked about this before the show. This was one of Renee's favorites.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Pierce Brosnan fan. That's her Bond. That's who she grew up with. And I get that. I just wish they had given him better scripts, better stories, better characters, better scripts to deal with. There is rumor, I think we mentioned this at the beginning of the show, that he may come back. And hopefully, if that's the case, it's a better script. It's a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
And don't kill him. Please don't kill him. I know he's old, but don't kill him.
Right.
So yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies has Michelle Yeoh, who's a wonderful Bond girl. She plays his basically. There's a couple of different kinds of Bond women in these movies. Sometimes he gets a spy, like Anya from Spy Who Loved Me, who is his equal in Russia, and sometimes he gets, the damsel in distress kind of thing. But in this case, it was she doesn't need any help. She's fine. She's an agent from China, and she's tops in her game, and she's his equal.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Again, Spy Who Loved Me, great, one of my favorite Bond films. Again, I like it when he gets his equal.
Mm-hmm.
So the villain is Elliot Carver, played by Jonathan
Pryce.
Jonathan Pryce, who has an illustrious career playing all kinds of things in all kinds of different series of movies, and he's very good at what he does. And again, it was at the time, it was what was going on. The news and how the news was being manipulated was in the news. so they went with that. Okay, who the villain is somebody who makes the news and uses it to create what he wants and create the world he rules, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So
I like that. I like that in the movie. Great supporting cast. Again, we have M. With Pierce Brosnan, we get Judi Dench as M. We get the female M.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wonderful. She's a breath of fresh air in the movies, in these later movies. It's kind of a step back to go. I like Ralph Fiennes. He's a great actor. He's a fine actor, but you're just going back to Bernard Lee, as far as I'm concerned. When you and Robert Brown, when you do that. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a lateral move at best. I liked the female M. We haven't mentioned the Moneypennies in the new films. In Living Daylights and License to Kill, it's Carolyn Bliss, and the fans just didn't really go for her. She seemed kind of giggly and weird, and they didn't like her talking about Barry Manilow records and etc. And then in Tomorrow Never Dies, we get Pamela Bond playing Moneypenny, and she's kind of she's sassy. She's a really sassy Moneypenny, which I liked. I really liked her Moneypenny. Naomi Harris is okay as Moneypenny. Not as much sass as I liked from Pamela Bond, but she is there. She's Moneypenny.
Yeah.
So Tomorrow Never Dies has a good mix, good cast, good supporting characters, good story. We surprisingly get in GoldenEye, we get Joe Don Baker back as a different character. Instead of Felix Leiter, they decided to go with a Jack Wade character, and he's in Tomorrow Never Dies as well. So he's been in 3 Bond films now as 2 different characters. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But then again, Charles Gray played 2 different characters in the Bond films. Ended up as Blofeld.
That's right.
So it's who they like to work with, I guess. So that's my number 2.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, my first Pierce Brosnan, since we're going down the line, actually, I have to say is GoldenEye. I actually like that one.
Yeah,
Um,
the villains are good in GoldenEye. I like the
yeah,
villains.
yeah. And I was going to say that a Bond movie is only as good as its villains a lot of times, and like we said, that there's been some weak ones. Uh, but I felt like GoldenEye had some really good ones. We got Sean Bean, he's always fun to watch, and Famke Johnson as
Xenia on a top,
Xenia Onatopp,
and
which is
Alex
such a great.
Turkane, who is actually 006.
Hmm.
So he's supposed to be one up from Bond
Yeah, yeah,
at the beginning of the film. And I liked
right.
Oromov too,
And who?
General Oromov, who
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
assisted them for the first half of the film.
Right. And uh, I mean, it's the usual sort of world end, well, not really world ending plot, but the plot's very kind of a little bit similar to one of the not Connery, one of the Moore films with the sort of solar ray gun thing, Golden
Right,
Eye.
right.
So that was a bit of a letdown that it wasn't that original, but overall, I thought as an introduction to Brosnan coming in as Bond after Timothy Dalton, I thought it was good. And
I like the tank scene. I'll tell you the weakest point of that film is the soundtrack. Um,
yeah,
they actually brought in David Arnold to redo the Bond theme for the tank scene.
hmm
Because what's his name, Gregory Sierra, or I can't remember, the Eric Sierra maybe, did the soundtrack, and it was just I don't know if they were trying to save money because it seemed like a kind of a digital soundtrack, like it was done
hmm
from a keyboard. Um, but again, it really pops in that when David Arnold's theme hits that
hmm
tank
hmm
scene.
yeah,
And they were so impressed with it that yeah, he got the next several Bond films to score. And so Tomorrow Never Dies has a great David Arnold score,
hmm
fantastic David Arnold score, and he pulled in a lot of people from the original, like guys that played on the movies Goldfinger and Thunderball. They playing in the orchestra. Um, and again, we get the Vic Flick guitar back.
hmm
Um, so yeah, that's the weakest point of Goldeneye for me, was the music. It just really kind
yeah,
of took away from the experience for me.
yeah. But a great theme song from the legendary Tina Turner. I got to say, I thought I liked her. I like her theme song. Uh,
It's a good theme song.
it's pretty solid. Gets the job done, as they say.
I think
And also we get the
like a couple
introduction.
of years earlier. So yeah,
Oh,
she was on the market for that kind of thing at the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. So, and I was going to say we get the introduction of Judi Dench as M. This is her first, I think, believe her
Yes.
first appearance. So
I think that was her best portrayal of that character too in the
mhm,
series.
yeah,
She's just she's got lines in it about you're a dinosaur Bond, and a lot of people think I don't have the balls to do this business, but I think it's better that I don't have them because I don't think with them all the time. Stuff like that, snarky little lines that I just make her character that much better.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So and a little thing from Alan Cumming as the character.
oh
He's one
yeah,
of
of
the
course.
computer hackers. Uh, and I, actually, what's funny is there's there's a thing where Bond has this trick pen that's an explosive,
Right.
and Cummings has it. He starts playing with it
And he's
and
playing with, he's clicking it. And if you click
clicking
it a
and
certain
clicking and
number of
clicking
times, it'll
it.
blow off. Yeah.
It'll blow up. Exactly. That winds up being referenced in one of the Daniel Craig films. And I want to say it was in Casino Royale when he first meets uh, Ben Whishaw as Q.
Mm.
When he gives his whole gadget is this gun, and he kind of looks at it like, oh, it's a gun, and Q says, well, what were you expecting, an exploding pen? So I thought that was a nice little nod to that, and kind of keeping the continuity going. Yeah. So anyway, and of course, Famke Johnson as Xenio on the top, killing men with their thighs. I mean, it doesn't get any more Bond than that.
The general falling out of the closet with a big smile on his face was a nice touch.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to agree.
And her rather kind of getting
Isabel
crushed
Serco
herself.
deserves a nod for playing.
Yeah.
Talia,
she's the femme fatale, or she's the damsel in this one. So, but yeah, she was very good in it. So. All right, so that was my number 2. No, my number 3. Mm-hmm. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Casino Royale.
Okay.
Again, a far cry from the Peter Sellers, David Niven version of the '67.
Oh, yes.
It is the perfect setup for Daniel Craig to take over as Bond. It's the first story that Ian Fleming wrote that was published. It sets up the character. It sets up who Bond is. And again, he does a wonderful job slipping into the tuxedo. But it's got Mads Mikkelsen playing Le Chiffre. He's a great villain. He plays a great villain. He's in the Indiana Jones movies as a bad villain. The last one, he's Dr. Lecter on the TV show. I mean, he's really great villain. He's top notch, wonderful. We also get Giancarlo Giannini as Rene Mathis. Yeah. Jeffrey Wright steps in as Felix Leiter. We have a lot of really interesting characters jumping into here. Jesper Christensen, who hated being part of this movie as Mr. White, ended up coming back for 2 more afterwards, and he becomes James Bond's love interest's dad, Léa Seydoux' father. She's the daughter of Mr. White. So it's just a really, really good movie, really tight. They didn't destroy the Aston Martin, by the way. That's the first time they didn't destroy a big, huge car in a James Bond film. They used AI to do it. And I applaud them for that because it looks great and they didn't destroy the car. Just a really good movie all the way around. Tragic ending. He loses the love of his life,
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you mentioned Eva Green.
Eva Green. Bond girl.
Great. One of the best Bond girls, yeah.
Yes.
What I like, and I didn't mention this earlier when we started talking about the Craig era, is what I did like about it is, obviously it was a whole reboot of Bond after Brosnan. They basically said, hey, we're just going to start from the beginning, and we're going to start with Casino Royale and reintroduce the character. He's new to the whole 007 thing, and you see sort of the slow build of all the classic elements, the tuxedo and the drink and all of that. And of course, it ends with the classic line of Bond, James Bond, and then we get the classic theme, the Monty Norman, John Barry theme, right? And all that. So it comes full circle. But unlike all the previous ones, the Craig films is a series, because each sequel builds on the previous one, or at least references the previous one in one way or another, culminating, of course, in the just awful No Time to Die. But
don't kill your hero.
But yeah, there's 2 rules or 3 rules. Don't kill the kid, don't kill the dog, don't kill your hero.
They say that's Craig's fault. That he said, I don't want to play the character anymore, so the only way I'll come back and do it one more time is if you kill him. And the fans found out about that, and they freaking hate him for that now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I believe it. But even if it's true, I mean, you don't kill a hero. You find a way to again, they should have explained to him, look, we've had 6 different guys playing Bond. Come on. We'll just change to another actor. You don't have to come back again. Don't kill your main character.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway. And I did like that Ray Fiennes that his M is, well, no, Judi Dench was pretty involved in some of the plots as well, so I can't really say that.
Mm-hmm.
He gets shot in one episode,
I think
and all that, and joins in, and there's still that kind of, unlike Bernard Lee, he wasn't always just stuck in the. Although he traveled outside too. So anyway, forget that part. But yeah, it I agree. It was a really good introduction.
Bernard Lee never took a bullet.
Exactly. He was too posh for that. I'm staying in my office where it's safe. That's why I have you guys to go out and do the dirty work. I'm just here in my little office. But anyway, okay. So that was your number 3.
My number 4.
Oh, your number 4. Number 4. Sorry.
Is License to Kill. This is a different kind of Bond. This is a revenge film, basically a vendetta film for Bond. He loses his license. Originally, it was called License Revoked, and the reason that I know this is because I was on set in the Keys in 1988. So my agent, I asked her, "Can you tell me where they're shooting down in the Keys? I just want to go watch," and because I couldn't get a role as an extra, and she said, "Yeah, I'll tell you where it is." And for the longest time on my resume, I actually had that I was an extra in the film because I was there. I had the pictures. I actually sent some of the pictures to Renee, the good ones. I don't know if she's going to show them here or not. But
yeah, they're on there. They're on screen.
Oh, I don't see them.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, they're on screen. Yeah. There's one of you with Robert Davi.
Right. Yeah. I got to meet Robert Davi. I got an autograph from Timothy Dalton. They told me I had a bag over my shoulder had posters and stuff rolled up in it. And they're like, he doesn't sign posters. He only signs business cards. Or a piece of paper. So I had business cards with me, so I had him sign a business card. And then he went off to his trailer, and I got a picture of him walking off to his trailer. I watched his stuntman jump off. Yeah, I watched his stuntman jump off the Hemingway House balcony. And I got to meet Robert Brown. And I got to meet, and I can't remember what happened to all the stuff I got autographed. And I got to meet John Glenn, the director, who directed like several of the Bond films.
Right.
He's actually directed more of the Bond films, I think, any other director. So it was nice that I got to meet all these people. It was a dream come true for me as a Bond fan, Oh,
I bet. Yeah.
What I like about the movie is Bond loses his license to kill. It's revoked. And he goes off on a vendetta because Felix Leiter, and this was actually from Live and Let Die, the book Live and Let Die. They feed Felix Leiter to the sharks and put a note on him saying that, he loses an arm and a leg. And they say he disagreed with something that ate him. Was the joke, was the gag. And they put that in the movie in License to Kill. And David Hedison returns as Felix Leiter, which I loved. There's a great wedding scene at the beginning where they, jump off a helicopter, and parachute into the wedding. And Franz Sanchez is a very nasty villain. There is more body count in this Bond film than any other Bond film. It's the most grisly Bond film there is. I mean, people die. I mean, Benicio del Toro gets, chopped up at the end of the film.
Industrial grinder,
yeah. So, I mean, again, great cast. Really interesting characters. A lot of characters. And yeah, Bond, we see a different kind of Bond. A Bond who's on a vendetta, who's, just killing people left and right, and he doesn't have a license to kill to do it. It's, he's doing it illegally.
He goes rogue in this one. Who's the now there's a famous singer that plays a character in this movie from like the 50s, and I'm blanking on his name. Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton,
yeah. Wayne Newton plays Professor Joe Butcher, who's like the front for their drug business.
Right.
Him and his cult down in Mexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, even Wayne Newton in this film. It's got everything. The kitchen sink and Wayne Newton. So yeah, I really enjoyed License to Kill. And the stunts with the trucks at the end was a little much, but but other than that, yeah, it was fun film. And I like where he plays on Franz Sanchez's paranoia. Oh, this guy's against you. I think it's this guy that's against you, and he's killing them all. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like those aspects of that film. It's a different Bond. If you're not looking for something that's the same Bond over and over again, okay, big villain with a big base, and yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my number 4 is Tomorrow Never Dies, which we talked about earlier, for a lot of the same reasons.
I thought you were supposed to go first.
We got a little mixed up.
How do we flip it?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
So you do your number 5.
Yeah. So anyway, my number 4 is, like I said, Tomorrow Never Dies. Love Michelle Yeoh in that. Terry Hatcher has a small role in it.
Yes.
She's the femme fatale. Some ex-lover of Bond's that we never saw before.
Yeah.
And of course, the wonderful Jonathan Pryce as the main villain. Again, great. I'd love it when they would.
Henchmen who are bigger and more indestructible. Gotz Otto, the German actor, plays Stempa.
Yeah.
And Vincent Schiavelli actually plays the guy that trained him. And Vincent Schiavelli is a comic actor. He's a really fun character actor. Most people recognize. He's just kind of a strange looking dude. Which makes him great for characters. And he's in Ghost as the ghost that's on the train that teaches Patrick Swayze everything he needs to know as how to be a ghost. But he plays Dr. Oh shit, I can't remember the character's name now. But he's trained Stemper. And again, Stemper is just basically indestructible. He gets knifed in the in the shoulder and it doesn't stop him, at the end. So yeah, he's one of those great over the top henchmen.
Yeah.
Well.
And he was in and he was in Buckaroo Banzai. He was one of the Red Lectroids.
You're correct. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And he's married to the girl that was the ditzy secretary on Pierce Brosnan's show, Remington Steele. He's married to her. They're
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
okay. Cool.
I was going to say Rhea Perlman, but she's married to Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
It's the other one.
Yeah. And yeah. Oh, and it's Moneypenny is Samantha Bond.
Samantha Bond, right.
Samantha
I said
Bond.
Pamela, didn't I? Samantha Bond.
Yeah,
You're
Samantha
right.
Bond. Which seems kind of appropriate. Somebody named Bond in a Bond movie.
Moneypenny. She really is.
I loved her as Moneypenny.
Love Lois Maxwell, but
yeah. Well, I think after Lois Maxwell, I think Samantha was probably one of the best ones.
yes.
Okay. Should I go ahead and do my number 5?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and tell me your number 5.
All right. So my number 5 is The Living Daylights.
Okay, good.
Again, for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned. Great introduction to Timothy Dalton as the new Bond, right after Roger Moore, or a few years after Moore left the role. And yeah, just a great plot, great villain.
And a great girl too. Miriam Diabo is wonderful.
And Miriam Diabo as
the cellist.
Right. Yeah. And
I forgot her there.
Yeah, Miriam Diabo, Jerome Crabb as one of the villains, and well, we're not sure if he's a villain, but then of course we find out that he is one of those kind of deals. You know, like I said, great twists and turns.
Davies either as Pushkin.
Yeah, yes, of course, yes. John,
Indy, Sala.
Yes.
Then I must die.
Yeah. Asps, very dangerous. You go first. Anyway, yeah. Always a great performer. Always a great performance from him. So, all right. So that's my number 5.
Okay, my number 5. We talked about it. Is Skyfall. Javier Bardem. That's all I can say. I mean, we just made that movie, and a little Albert Finney at the end of the movie. Icing on the cake. Great moments in the film. Again, the classic Aston Martin. It's after, like you said, after Quantum of Solace, we were all keeping our fingers crossed that we would get another good one, and we got it, especially because of Javier Bardem. He's so good at it. So bad in it. I can't remember the girl's name that played his girl. Her character name is Severin. She's gorgeous. She's Marlowe, I think, is her family name. I want to say Bernice Marlowe. She's just delicious. And just they throw in some weird stuff out of nowhere, you know, like Komodo dragons, in a casino in Macau. It's a really good film. It's probably my second favorite Craig movie, after Casino Royale.
Yeah.
The rest of them, Spectre, I mean, Spectre had some good things in it. I don't know. It just didn't seem to upgrade from Skyfall to me.
No.
So I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Berenice Marlowe. I had to look her up because I forgot her name too.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she was, and meets a rather tragic end herself, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As happens to the Bond girls sometimes.
You have to have sacrifices, and usually one of the girls is sacrificed.
Gotta bite the dust.
So
as they say,
pay them in gold.
Pay them in gold. Pay them in oil.
Inspector. We should have mentioned Gemma Arterton.
Mm.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Quantum of Solace. I'm sorry. Quantum of Solace. She's covered in oil, which is, again, they stole that from Goldfinger, but
yeah, that was a nod to Goldfinger. Really. Yeah.
But yeah, she is Strawberry Fields is her character's name. She's an agent, and she's really good in that. Yeah. She's probably the only good thing in that for me.
Yeah. And she's gone on to have a really good career as well.
Yes. Which is once you become a Bond girl, it's tough to break that mold. It's tough to break that stereotype.
Yeah.
So yeah, more power to her.
Yeah.
So we've talked about almost all of them, right?
Almost.
We didn't talk about The World Is Not Enough, which is a weaker Bond.
Yeah.
Denise Richards is a weaker Bond girl.
Although Sophie Moreau,
Sophie Moreau is good in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Robert Carlyle as the
Robert Carlyle. The plot seemed like it had been pulled from like an episode of The Saint. With the whole, well, he's been shot and that bullet is slowly moving its way into his brain, and it's taken away all of his pain. He doesn't feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I just was a little contrived that. I like the opening sequence with the bank and with the cigar girl and her coming back and terrorizing MI5. The whole pre-credits double sequence. They give you 2 action scenes before the credits.
Yeah,
is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's like they can't top the opening sequence. We get Robbie Coltrane back as Zukovsky, which is fun. He's a fun actor to watch. But it's really kind of a weak installment in the series. And Die Another Day. Oh my goodness. Talk about contrived. The only thing I liked about it was that they could change people from their ethnicity into British people. I thought that was kind of interesting. Although kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a couple of Koreans trying to become Englishmen. And there's a process for that. You can go through this very painful process.
Yeah. Now, I did have, well, let me just go through my my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Casino Royale is the top. I mean, yeah, it probably should have been in my top 5, but yeah. The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, Quantum of Solace, and No Time to Die. And I know you like this movie. I hated it. License to Kill.
I know you hated it. We talked before.
I'm not gonna say I can't really say I hated it. It's not one of my favorites. I feel like
hated
it. I just felt like it didn't feel like a Bond movie to me. It felt like just a generic action movie. Like character could have been Arnold Schwarzenegger or Dolph Lundgren or anybody. It just
I harpooned the airplane. I'm flying behind it now.
Yeah, it just the whole sort of. I mean, I can appreciate the fact that yes, they try to do something different with the formula.
Yeah,
that they try to make it more grounded in like real life things like drug cartels and all that stuff. But it just didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. As a Bond film, as an action film, it's great. Yeah, but as a Bond film, no, it just didn't. I just didn't buy it. I just didn't buy it as that.
See, now,
and that's the only thing that
retort to your statement that it could be in any action film star. No, there were things in the film that only Bond could have done, like flying behind the plane, by harpooning it, that kind of thing. So there were Bond moments in it.
Yeah.
But yes, it was definitely a huge departure from the usual formula. Again, you did get the girls, you did get the gadgets, but you had Bond going rogue, which I thought was a really good change. That we see something that we haven't seen.
No, I didn't. I mean, that part was fine. I mean, hey, go rogue. I just the whole cartel thing.
And Anthony Zerbe.
And Anthony Zerbe, who's another one of those great character actors who pops up in.
He really things. Popped in that film.
Oh yeah. And I think maybe that's one of the things that really kind of bothers me is the violence, the level of violence.
It is an ultra violent Bond film. I give you that.
Very violent Bond, and that's why I think it's like, okay, we got to compete with all these other big action movies coming out that are around. So let's let's ramp up the violence, let's ramp up the action. And yeah, I was like, yeah, this is not my Bond.
Understood.
Or my idea of what a
Understood.
Bond film, which more lighthearted, more
I think maybe I
fun
like
action.
it because I was there.
Yeah,
That
maybe
might
so.
help.
No, and nothing, nothing wrong with that. And I love Robert Davi when he plays a bad guy. I love Benicio del Toro.
He's a good band.
And all that. It's just and I didn't
Benicio
mind.
del Toro is such a baby in that. Oh my God, he's
Yeah,
young. It's before
yes,
Wolfman. It's before
yeah.
was it Las Vegas? Oh hell, the Johnny Depp thing.
Oh, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, he's just such a baby in that.
Yes,
So
yes.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's before the Usual Suspects.
Right. Yeah.
If you go online, you can actually see him making the cast break during that scene where they're all up in front of the police window.
Mhm.
The Usual Suspects. He keeps farting during that scene, making them
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah.
It's online. You can find it. So he
Yeah.
must be fun to work with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And they, and they said, you know what, we're not going to reshoot this. We're just going to keep it because it's a great scene. So. Yeah.
So.
And he played another bad guy in Sin City, a real
That's
nasty
right.
character.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so those were those were my honorable mentions.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room now. I'm sorry, not Die Another Day. No
Time to Die.
Well, obviously he did have time to die. That's my big joke for that film. Obviously he did have time to die because they killed him. That being said, Léa Seydoux is wonderful in the film. We get a cameo again by Christoph Waltz. They actually do the Dr. Lecter scene where he comes out, in the caged kind of moving chair thing.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of it is nanotech that singles in on people and kills them. And once you're infected with it, that's it. You can't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that if it's nanotech, there would be some way to stop it. But anyway, that's it. They wanted to kill him. So, there's no doubt that he dies at the end of the film. The one real breath of fresh air in this is Ana de Armas as Paloma, the Cuba scene where he crashes the party, the Spectre party. Has him working with a Cuban, an American agent working. She's a very new agent working in Cuba, and that's Ana de Armas playing Paloma, and she's great. She's wonderful. I didn't like Rami Malek in this. I usually like Rami Malek. I didn't like him in this.
Well, besides besides killing off Bond, even if they hadn't done that, even if he just had a happy ending and went off with Leah and his child, come on, Rami Malek was such a weak villain.
I just didn't like him.
I didn't. Yeah.
Again, I usually do like him, but I didn't like him in that.
Yeah, and his whole plot, and again, it's another scarred villain seeks revenge plot, and it's not a very well done. It's nowhere near as good as the Javier Bardem plot in Skyfall.
Right.
And I hated that they killed.
Yeah,
I hated that they killed off Blofeld after the introduction. I thought, no, they gave him the one scene and then to kill him off, and I'm like, no, that's not the way to do that.
Yeah.
Agreed. It was some of it, like you said, some of it was good. I do like all the scenes with Ana de Armas. That was beautiful. and actually, I mean, they wind up killing everybody. They kill off a lighter, and
Right.
then
I
you know,
really
you
hate
thought,
that too.
yeah, uh, it's like, yeah, we're just going to close out this whole thing, and everybody dies.
Well, yeah, and again, the fans are saying, "Oh, in the next one, he's going to wake up and he's going to say, I had this terrible dream where everybody died."
Yeah, no, I well, now that Amazon's taken it over, they're just going to reboot the whole thing. It's just going to be another reboot,
Yeah,
start over.
that's what I think.
I kind of suspect that they're going to start using the non Fleming books to fuel those, because there's a few of those.
Yeah, David Benson has some books, and oh geez, who was the Scottish guy that was Gardner? John Gardner.
Garner, yeah,
Wrote a lot of books that haven't been turned into films yet. So
yeah.
I'm not sure why they decided to just create. I guess they just didn't want to pay the family the rights. That's kind of cheap. They didn't want to pay the author the rights to their stories. We should mention Lashana Lynch, who was playing 007 in that film, which I thought was kind of a shitty thing to do. Give his number to this chick.
Yeah. You know, I didn't mind that. I actually thought that was pretty cool.
She was an interesting actress in the film,
and she was,
interesting character.
And again, brought you know, she was, because like you said, you know, you have to have the damsel in distress, the kind of the soft female, then you get the tough female.
Yeah.
You know, and then she played that. I thought she played that beautifully. I like M, and I mean, there's elements in there that are good, but generally speaking, it all falls apart with the villain, and of course with the ending.
Yes.
And it dragged. And it dragged.
Yeah. Agreed.
You know, I like the beginning when they're in Italy, and that whole scene, and he feels betrayed and all that. I mean, it starts off really well, and then it just
does. And again, the Cuba scene is great.
And the Cuba scene is great. I mean, there's
after the Cuba scene, it just
yeah. I like the scene where they steal the whatever it is, the poisonous thing. In fact, I feel like that should have been the beginning of the movie, not the whole thing where you know, the villain shoots up the family and all that. It's a bit of a mess, and not a great way to. It wasn't a great way to end that particular era of Bond. You know, it really needs to go back and have some serious rewriting.
So that's our dishonorable mention.
That's our mutual dishonorable mention.
Oh my gosh, I think it's everybody's, you know, dishonorable. I don't think anybody liked that film. I mean, I've heard nothing but bad reviews on it. All right, so next week
we're going to talk about director M. Night Shyamalan, and I think we're going to have a special guest. Our friend Ilana Lang will be here to join us for that. So yeah. And then tomorrow on the Roland Pruitt Kaiju show, what are those guys doing?
Godzilla vs. Gigan is set for that show. And later this week, actor Troy Evans will come into the Big Monster Briefing Room to talk about his experiences while we look at the timeline for The Frighteners.
Wonderful.
So, going to be a fun week.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Bond, that's going to be the last episode of the Big Monster Briefing Room for a while. We're going to take a break. And in those Thursday slots, we have decided we are going to do some Bond episodes to share my collection with you. I have a huge collection of Bond autograph cards, which is going to be the first show. A huge collection of Bond autograph 8x10s, which is going to be the second show. I am building a collection of Bond relics. These are pieces of costumes and things from the cars and the boats, and they're pieces of the actual history of the Bond films. That's going to be the third one. And this past couple of weeks, these cards created by Upper Deck, they're called Black Diamond cards. They are really upscale, expensive, collectible cards for James Bond. Some of them are metal. Some of them have autographs, although the autographs are kind of underwhelming compared to the Rittenhouse autographs, which I'll show you next week. Or yeah, next Thursday, week from Thursday. But there's a lot of different cards, even cards that have synthetic diamonds, lab-created diamonds embedded in the cards.
Wow.
Making the cards very valuable, very rare. And there's all limited print cards. I don't think more than 200 cards of each card were printed. So that makes them very, for collectors, you seek them. You know, I mean, you're like, oh, I want that. That's one. There are only 50 of those cards. There's only 5 of those cards. I want one of those. The diamond cards, yeah, there's only like 5 to 10 of them printed, and that's it. So you definitely want to get the diamond cards, but they're very expensive. You know, and again, they're worth a lot of money. Now, I've just been buying stuff off of eBay on auctions, just trying, luckily, to get something for a lot less than what it's worth. And I've been very lucky, actually. But these cards are really hot right now. So in 4 weeks, I'm going to show you, you know, what I've collected, which I've got about 40 of these cards now. So I might have 50 or 60 by that time. We'll see. We'll see. Again, they're interesting cards. Upper Deck Black Diamond. They're the creme de la creme of James Bond cards. So we're going to have a lot of fun showing this stuff off to you folks. And I intend to dress up and make it an event. And I'm hoping that actually, Manny dressed up tonight. I'm just wearing my, you know, St. Patty's Day shirt because it's St. Patty's Day. But Manny's gotten all dressed up here, which is nice for the show. And again, I hope that we will make these Bond shows in the next month an event for you guys to watch. And again, I'm hoping to get my collection out there on YouTube so people who are collectors can see it and enjoy it.
All right. Well,
and of course, our own personal take on the different Bond things, you know, when I show them.
Right, yeah.
Which makes it special.
Exactly. All right. Well, something to look forward to. And you know, for everyone who will be watching this in the future, where we all will live.
Renee?
Renee?
Yeah, I love whenever, where we all will live. That was funny. I wanted to say also, I love the Christoph Waltz impersonations. So keep those coming.
Oh God,
he's just wonderful. I love him. Yes, you do it. You do it very well. You even look like him when you do his face. You look like him. It's kind of creepy.
I can't from his Blofeld though, because he's like a different Christoph Waltz when he does that.
Oh gosh!
Like he's like, James, it's so good to see you again.
It's making me be scared of him, you know, because he's so intense and weird. Yeah,
very intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the upcoming Bond shows showing off the collections?
Yeah, that's good. We're getting yes, exactly. We need to support this habit. We need to support
the autographs, the Rittenhouse cards I've got, and most of them are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
What's called full bleed cards. They're nice cards, high upper end. I've got like 300 of those now.
Wow,
pictures of 300 actors that were in the Bond films.
That is intense. Oh my gosh, that's like everybody.
I can't afford, you know, like Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig, but I've got most of the other actors that were in these films. You know, I do have Lazenby, and I do have Roger Moore.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's really cool.
So we're gonna look at them next week, and
we'll be sharing them with people. Yes, so everyone gets to enjoy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
I'm very proud of my collection now.
Yes, so tune in. So people tune in if you want to see this. We're going to learn and then talk about the films, of course, and more and go more in depth.
Yeah. So now we know that Rory's into bondage.
He really is. He's into bondage.
Truly. True words were never spoken.
All right. Well, again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.